Good day everyone, I am Mariel Jane Pilarca. So for my Philosophy of Science and Technology exam, I will be talking about one of the most talked about controversies in modern science, the CRISPR baby case. So this story isn't about just science, so it also raises big questions about ethics, responsibilities, and how far humans should go in changing life itself. So by the end, you'll see how science and philosophy intersect in this real world example. So what happened? So let me tell you the full story. So in November 2018, the world was stunned when a Chinese scientist named He Juanqi announced something unbelievable. He had used CRISPR-Cas9 to edit the genes of human embryos. So these embryos were then implanted and eventually twins were born. Uh, the nickname of these twins is Lulu and Nana. The goal of He Juanqi's experiment was to make the babies resistant to HIV. The virus was causes AIDS. He targeted a specific gene called CCR5, which is known to play a role in HIV infection. So, in theory, by modifying this gene, the twins could be naturally resistant to the virus. Sound impressive at first, right? But the world reacted with a shock and outrage. Scientists and ethics immediately condemned the experiment. Why? Because He Juanqi broke fundamental ethical rules. He performed a high-risk experiment on human embryos without proper oversight, without purview, or without the consent of the babies themselves. So here's the thing. This wasn't just about an experiment in a lab. These embryos were going to develop into a living humans. The change he made would permanently alter their DNA, which means any mistake or unintended effect would just affect the twins, but could also affect future generations. Even more concerning, He Juanqi was secretive about his work. He did not initially publish his findings in peer-reviewed journals, and he did not inform the international scientific community before conducting the experiment. So, in essence, he went ahead without the safeguards that usually protect human subjects and research. So the announcement sparked global debates. The World Health Organization called for a global registry and moratorium and germline gene editing. So universities and governments condemned his work, calling it unethical and irresponsible. Eventually, He Juanqi was arrested by Chinese authorities and sentenced to prison for illegal medical practice. Now let's talk about the science behind it. CRISPR-Cas9 is often called a molecular scissor. Imagine a DNA as long as string of instructions that tells our body how to grow and function. So CRISPR can cut the string and at very specific points and even replace or remove sections. So why this is exciting? Because it opens the possibility of curing disease caused by faulty genes. Like for example, acrystic fibrosis or sickle cells anemia could potentially be cured. So even preventing HIV infection like He Juanqi attempted is theoretically possible. But here's the catch. It's still experimental. Sometimes CRISPR makes mistake. There are called of targeted effects. In other words, CRISPR could cut the word part of the DNA which could cause serious problems, maybe even new genetic disease. Another key concept is the difference between somatic and germline editing. Somatic editing affects only the person being treated. For example, editing cells to cure disease in an adult. It doesn't affect their children. And the germline editing affects embryos, which means the changes are heritable. These edits are passed down to future generations. He Juanqi used germline editing, which is why this case was so controversial. Any unintended effects don't just stop with the twins, they could affect their children and grandchildren. That's a huge scientific ethical responsibility. So here's four ethical principles are particularly relevant. First is non-maleficence. or do no harm. So gene editing at this stage is experimental and the babies could suffer health problems later. And second, consent. The twins had no choice. They couldn't agree to being genetically altered. And third is justice. If gene editing becomes available, only wealthy people might afford it. That could create inequality. Designer babies for some, but not for all. And fourth, scientific responsibility. Scientists have duty to follow ethical guidelines. Hydranki ignored these responsibilities, breaking international rules. To make this more concrete, imagine this. You could prevent a serious disease in your child. Sounds amazing, right? But there's a chance this could cause problems for your child's children. So, this is the exact risk with germline editing. Once you make the change, it's permanent. You can't undo it. The uncertainty makes this experiment extremely risky and ethically complicated. Beyond science, this controversy raises deeper philosophical question. Should science aim only to cure disease or is it okay to improve humans beyond normal abilities? So, in conclusion in this video, CRISPR is an incredible technology. We couldn't deny that. So, it has the potential to save countless lives, but with that power comes enormous responsibility. So, the CRISPR baby case teaches us that science isn't just about what we can do, it's about also what we should do. So, ethics, safely, and responsibility must guide innovation. So, without them, even amazing discoveries can cause harm. Thank you for watching.